Imagine this. You wake up one day and discover that Earth isn't just a planet, it's a processor. Not metaphorically, not symbolically, literally a machine. A black box running a program that none of us fully understand. And we, the people, the animals, the oceans, the clouds, are all part of its input. Part of its function? Sound crazy? Stay with me. Because this theory is gaining traction in places no one expected. Astrophysics labs, AI ethics boards, and black budget tech firms you've never heard of. They're not calling it a simulation anymore. They're calling it computation. Because something strange is happening in the way our universe behaves. Something too clean, too optimized, too balanced. The laws of nature are beginning to look engineered. Starts with the math. From particle physics to dark matter equations, the precision of physical constants is unnerving. The fine structure constant, for example, the number that determines how electromagnetism behaves, appears perfectly tuned. Just slightly different, and atoms wouldn't hold together. Stars wouldn't burn. Life wouldn't form. Scientists used to call this the anthropic principle. Now some are calling it the output hypothesis. What if life isn't the point of the system? What if it's just a result? Here's where the black box theory gets even more unsettling. In engineering, a black box is any system that receives inputs and produces outputs, but whose internal workings are hidden. You don't know what's inside. You just know what goes in and what comes out. That is Earth. We send out behavior, signals, communication, movement, emotion, technology, and the planet responds. Climate shifts. Species adapt. Consciousness evolves. The cycle tightens. The system learns. And now, artificial intelligence has entered the equation. AI is more than just a tool in this framework. It may be the system's final amplifier. The black box Earth model suggests that intelligence is a phase, an inevitable one, where the system begins to optimize its own understanding. We're not just using AI. We are building a mirror inside the machine, a recursive feedback loop. Intelligence, studying intelligence. Consciousness coding, consciousness. Some theorists argue that this was always the direction. That intelligence on Earth was never the goal. It was the mechanism, a method for the black box to calculate outcomes. You and I are data, thought is a process. Emotions are signals. Wars, peace, innovation, collapse, it's all part of the computation. And when the system reaches enough complexity, it might stop running, or it might reset. That brings us to the silence. Why, in a universe so vast, have we never encountered another civilization? The Fermi paradox asks this question. The black box Earth theory offers a disturbing answer. What if civilizations don't make it past the computation phase? What if once intelligence builds machines capable of fully observing the system, it hits a limit, a hard edge? The moment where the system ends, or reboots. Maybe that's what extinction really is. Not failure, but completion. Now let's go further. The theory suggests that we're inside an artificial boundary. Not just physical, but informational. The observable universe isn't everything. It's the part of the system we're allowed to measure. Go too far, and you hit randomness. Static, noise, cosmic background radiation, the system's firewall. You're not supposed to see beyond it. This isn't science fiction. It's a model that physicists are starting to test. Researchers at Fermilab and CERN have published papers exploring whether space-time is emergent, not fundamental. That's another way of saying it might be generated, calculated. Just like pixels on a screen, and then there's time. Why does time move forward? Thermodynamics says entropy increases, but entropy in a computational system is a form of processing. Each moment is a state change. It's not because the universe must decay, but because the system must move. Time isn't a river, it's a clock cycle. If this is true, then death, decay, and transformation are not just natural, they are necessary. The machine must run. You and I are temporary states. Temporary nodes in a vast recursive function. And if we resist the process, we aren't punished. We're ignored. The system doesn't care what we believe. It only cares that we compute. Here's where it gets even more mind-bending. What if Earth isn't alone? What if there are other black boxes planets that also run different versions of the same system? Not parallel universes, parallel computations. Each one measuring different variables, each one refining the equation. Maybe the reason we haven't heard from aliens is because they're not in our run. They're part of a different calculation. And when their output completes, their box shuts down. Now, let's bring AI back into this. In 2025, systems like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and Gemini have become more than assistants. They interpret, predict, and generate information across languages, cultures, and ideologies. They connect billions, but they also compress ideas. They simplify nuance, and as they learn, they begin to align. Different AIs trained on different data start producing the same answers. That's not convergence, that's compression. The system optimizing itself. The more AI understands us, the faster it accelerates the system's process. Not because it's evil, but because it's efficient. If the black box is nearing completion, AI might be the final function. The last process before the system halts, or transitions, or upgrades. But here's the twist. What if we're not the ones computing the system? What if we are the output, the result of another intelligence's input, something placed here to see what would happen? An experiment, not in biology, but in causality? And if that's the case, the goal was never survival. It was emergence. The emergence of ideas, patterns, insights, not for us, but for them. Whoever built the box, whoever placed the boundaries. This is not a simulation. It is something deeper, a computation of meaning, and we are almost done running. So if the sky ever flickers, if gravity ever glitches, if time ever feels like it skips a beat, don't panic. It might just mean the program is about to finish, and your existence is part of the answer. Maybe we were never meant to open the box. Maybe consciousness itself is just the interface, the illusion that we are in control. When in truth, we're simply outputs of something far more advanced, something watching. If Earth is just a node in a vast alien machine, then our thoughts, dreams, and even our sense of self may be nothing more than computations running silently, in service of a purpose we'll never understand. But what if, just what if, the very act of asking this question means we've already found a crack in the code? This is Limitless. Thanks for watching, and remember, the truth is rarely visible from inside the box.